Your hair looks good.
Okay, hello everyone. So I'm letting everyone in. I think everyone's gonna automatically be muted. So I'm gonna ask that you keep yourself muted just to avoid any background noise. Just a couple little things to think about. If you're not that familiar with Zoom, then you can do speaker view so you can see who's talking. That's in your upper right-hand corner where it says view. And you can switch that around. You can have gallery setting or speaker setting. And I would recommend for the forum tonight to set it to speaker setting. So you can see what's happening. It is 6:31. I'm going to get started.
Oh, wait.
What's wrong?
Where's speaker setting?
You're fine. Oh, if you want to do speaker setting, go to the upper right-hand corner where it says view.
Yeah, I got everybody's picture now.
Okay, you can do it as a grid or you can do it as one person talking at a time.
Okay.
Gallery will give you the grid. Speaker will give you one person at a time when they're talking.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So, bear with me. I'm going to minimize my screen. Welcome everyone. People are still coming in. I got to keep admitting people. Okay.
What are you up to tonight?
Go have dinner at Lloyd's house. You can have the house to yourself.
Okay, bear with me. Oh, hi, we see your mom. Hi.
That's mom. That's mom.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay, so people, I'm sort of managing everything technically by myself, so bear with me because I'm kind of the host and the tech person. Okay, welcome. I really do want to welcome everyone here. Oh, sorry. Can't get started with the people coming in. I want to welcome everyone to this event. I want to, whether you're in recovery from substance use, of course that includes alcohol, whether you're considering recovery for yourself, whether you're practicing moderation for yourself, or you care about somebody who's in recovery or still struggling, everybody is welcome. And I appreciate you all being here. So I want to go over a little bit about Sea Change Recovery Community Organization. Then following that, we're going to do a 10-minute short film about our special guest, Darryl. And then I'm going to pass the mic to Jon Coen and Darryl, and they are going to take it away from there. So, let's see, did I leave anything out? No. Okay. So, my name is Elizabeth Burke-Beatty, and I am a grateful person in long-term recovery. I am also the founder and executive director of the newly formed Sea Change RCO, which stands for Recovery Community Organization. And I'm also a mom and a wife, and we are also a family that fosters young children in need of care when that comes upon us. I'm super excited to be here, and I'm really grateful for you all sharing your time with us tonight. I want to tell you a little bit about Sea Change. Sea Change RCO is a nonprofit recovery community organization. We are based in Southern Ocean County, New Jersey, but we are serving statewide and beyond. We're taking on the addiction epidemic by providing a fresh approach to recovery through peer support, taking advantage of both online and in-person modes of connection. In that, for a great example, surfing. We are aiming to create, build, and establish life-saving help for those with substance use disorders and their concerned loved ones. Sea Change combines evidence-based practices with fun, healthy lifestyle approaches to recovery, encompassing all pathways. I'm going to ask everyone to please consider joining our RCO if you are local to us or if you're in our state. You can do that through our website, and I'm also going to invite you to join all the generous folks that have already donated to our cause. If we were in person, I would ask each of these folks, I'm about to read some names of people who have already given to Sea Change. If we were in person, I'd ask you to stand up and take a bow, but we can't. So I really want to thank the very first person that ever gave a penny. Her name is Diane Kett, and she just recovered from COVID. So I'm really grateful for her. She got the ball rolling. And I'm going to read through everyone else who has so generously supported us. Jetty Rock Foundation, New Jersey Resource Project, my husband, Tom Beatty, Edward and Shauna Norton, Christopher Eisenberg, Christine Jones, Emily Black, Jennifer Begonia, Doug Shearer and Karen Clues, Barbara Eisenberg, Andrea Mario, Casey Deacon, Lynn Russo, Virginia Ginta, Yanni Kaludis, Charles Kitchings, Liz Toller, Eva Mancini, Jen Lieb, Norm Coriel, and Robert Lassonde. So I just really want to give a shout out to everyone that's helped so far. It's been a great way for us to get started. Now, I would like to share, I'm going to go to our video. I'm going to introduce Darryl and Jon, and they're going to take it away. So if everybody is settled in, you know what I wanted to add? If you're on, please, I would love it if you would introduce yourselves in the chat and tell us where you're zooming in from so that we can see everyone who's here. So feel free to chime in. Thank you. Awesome. All right. So while everyone's doing that, let's move into the video. Film. I got to share my screen. And Darryl Flea Virostko is the star of the movie. I'm looking for it. Where to go?
Aki. Love the iTunes, like you could find any song, you know? People always want to put shit out there to make the article more fun or whatever, sound crazier. Oh, Mavericks, surfing, drugs, mix it together. But like in the reality of all the things, it was just like, that took that away from me.
Sorry.
In this this house,
Oops.
I leave my limitations behind.
We were really lucky to grow up on the west side here in Santa Cruz. We would all just like ride our bikes from school home and then just boom, pick up a friend here in our wetsuit, go back to Barney's, pick him up, Rat Boy, we'd meet too. And all of a sudden we have all these people, just kids on bikes at the lane at one time. So we were all just like little hoodlums around the west side.
I think that, I don't know, the whole West Side crew kind of brought the air game to the next level. I guess I remember Flea doing airs when I was a kid, and they were just savage. He'd go huge. He'd tweak them out all savage and boned out. I wanted to do them just like that.
The 90s were pretty much the air revolution here in Santa Cruz. At the lane, we have Middle Peak, and it's basically a big burger with huge chops coming off the cliff. So that was probably the first thing we started doing is chop pops. Then we were just looking for it everywhere, just pushing each other, to do bigger and bigger airs. And then Rat Boy came in the scene, and he was just Rat was the best. His aerial surfing was just untouched, It pushed us too, because he was younger.
Everyone was doing them. They kind of had a whole fucking A team of guys who just all were air guys. It was cool. Definitely inspired me. As soon as I could basically pump down the line, we were trying airs right away. It was who cares about doing turns?
We were just assholes to everybody, we were brought up that way. Valley, go home, trannies, get the heck out of here, stuff like that. And scary times out there. Looking back on it now, it's pretty ignorant. Now, being actually sober for almost 11 years and treating people kindly and trying to work on my localism skills still, or non-skills, whatever it is, there's no way you can ever do that these days, it's just way different.
Wherever Darryl goes, everyone's going to see him as somebody that could just either ruin your day or make your day. And I think that it's a special thing to have where someone can keep you in check, but also help you a lot. I've always looked up to him, as a surfer, big wave, small wave, anything, even as a role model, really.
We've heard so many stories about Mavericks from VC. He would always come back just going, "Oh my God, you guys don't even know. There's a huge wave up there." And we were just "What? Really?" And then because we were just in disbelief. And then once you go up there for the first time, you're just blown away. This is crazy how nuts this wave is. It's basically a big slab in the middle of the ocean. I felt like I had a really good relationship with Mavericks. The adrenaline level was just all time. I felt like I was just always comfortable taking off in the bowl. So the mindset was just the aerial surfing for us. We were pushing each other to take off deeper in the bowl and stuff like that. And it was just another level of our surfing.
I even know people that nickname him God.
I was born on Christmas. Maybe that had something to do with it. Barney started calling me God because I won 3 Mavericks contests. So that was his interpretation of God. God, your nickname's God because you won 3 Mavericks contests. He was always joking with me about that. After I won that first contest at Mavericks in '99, my sponsors got better. I was getting some sponsors, and then 2000 when I won, and Smoke Slater or whatever, that helped a lot too. And I feel like the sponsors got more. And then 2004 was the height probably when I started signing big contracts, and I was doing really well, you know, and traveling the world and surfing and winning air contests and expression sessions and making really good money. I was able to buy a house right on the west side. Things were just great, and I let it go to my head. Life slips away like that, and then it's gone, and all of a sudden you're starting over from scratch. In 2007, when I started smoking meth, I needed it every single day. I knew that it had me. I was like, nothing's ever had me like that before. My life was basically over, you know what I mean? I wasn't surfing anymore. I completely changed into someone different. Like, it was just straight up stupid. And fell off a cliff and like got hurt, and like I was pretty frustrated, you know, and I didn't really want to talk about it too much, and I didn't want to go to rehab, and I was trying to find a place that I could go and actually surf if I was going to get better, but I couldn't find a place. So I just said, okay, in 2 weeks I'll go to the Beacon House in Monterey. And that's what I did. In 2 weeks, I basically fear and loathing in Las Vegas for 2 weeks, but in Santa Cruz. And I just went crazy and drank tons of vodka and did meth and went crazy. But on that day when I said I was going to go, I did go. I drove myself to Monterey with my wife, and the best thing I ever did in my life. I was lucky, you know, when I got clean from drugs and alcohol, I had surfing. I had a couple boards and good boards when I got back. I had no sponsors. I lost all my sponsors. I had no money. I had to sell my house that I worked so hard for. All these things just get taken from you when you start doing that kind of stuff. I did have surfing, you know, and that's what saved my life ultimately. That every day when I have a chance to surf, I'm going surfing. And that's saved my life. And that's the reason I started FleaHab, is because that's what saved my life. I feel like it could save a lot of other people's lives. FleaHab is a sober living environment here in Santa Cruz that I started 5 years ago. Seeing people thrive from it was like, God, that was my new addiction. And seeing someone just broken, all of a sudden leaving FleaHab and going, I got a job, no way. Like, I'm seeing my family again on Christmas. Like, that's why I started FleaHab, to see that. Jack O'Neill actually supported me and put a couple grand in to help me get clean. So that felt really good to have support like that, and it meant a lot from just this community, you know, that he wanted to help out someone like me. Right now here in Santa Cruz, I feel like the new group of kids that are kind of hanging together and surfing together and stuff like that, it's a really positive group.
It's gone from raw and thrashy and party to kind of almost like a soccer mom sport for certain kids. I think you like a little bit of in between, where it's like still fun, where you can still surf and you can hang out with your friends, but not like you got coaches at like 6 years old like screaming at you.
Waggy, he's blasting huge airs, you know, every single session, surfing really good. He rides a bunch of different kinds of boards too, like Rat Boy, and he can ride pretty much anything. The younger guys that are surfing Mavericks and charging, like, you know, there's Pat Shaughnessy from Santa Cruz. Aloe, he really wants it. We'll see how hard he wants it, you know, and that's exciting to see. You know, Aloe can surf a shortboard too. Pat Shaughnessy can surf a shortboard, and they both rip in small waves. And to surf big waves and catch huge bombs out there, it's just another level. It's cool to see well-rounded surfers.
It's all about just having fun and remembering a good friend, Barney Barron, and welcome to the land. Ron, for ripping, you guys were trying airs. That was really cool to see you actually trying airs. And to take it home again this year is Adam Bartlett with his backside blowtail kind of through his pants. So he's going to win $100 and the new trophy over here. Come on over, Adam.
Thank you, and Barney was awesome, and this money, it was for him. My air was for him.
Women's division taking it home again this year is Autumn Hayes. We had the men's division was filled with excitement. We had Zika taking it home this year.
Okay, so thank you for making that available. I now want to introduce you guys.
Wow.
Let me, oops, hold on. Sorry. Hold on. I lost my screen. Sorry, bear with me. Anybody in the waiting room? Nope. Okay. So I'm gonna, sorry, you guys. I'm doing the best I can. Okay, so I am very happy to introduce Jon Coen and our guest of honor, Darryl Flea Virostko. And I'm going to ask you guys to as they are talking, please ask any questions that you have. I think Joe Jankowski, can you mute your screen, please? Can you mute yourself? Okay, hold on. I might be able to do it. We're getting some feedback. Okay. If you have questions along the way, please ask them in the chat because we're going to open it up around on the half hour East Coast time. That will be 7:30. And I'm going to let you guys take it away. Jon, if you want to introduce yourself and have you and Darryl go at it. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having us. Elizabeth, congratulations on the organization. It's fantastic for our community. There's some names here that I recognize, and it's great to see everybody. I think we should just start out, since there are a whole lot of surfers on here. Flea, why don't we just real quick just talk about the winter you guys are having? It's just been absolutely nonstop swell out there, huh?
Yeah, basically ever since January started, really, all December as well, but January has just been pumping huge surf for like the whole month, back-to-back swells. It's been crazy, like huge, like really, really good winter so far. Cool. It's just like I haven't rode my shortboard for like 3 weeks, and I got on my 510 the other day and I was like, whoa, this thing's small. And it's just because I've been riding 6.6s and 7-foot boards because it's been pumping.
And where have you been mostly surfing?
I am mostly surfing. I surf like Big Scotts Creek up north. I like to go up north coast quite a bit. Or Swift Street here in Santa Cruz, that gets good and big. And Steamer Lane, you go ride big lefts out there on your 7-foot board. Those are kind of my spots mainly. I surf with the bigger board these days. I don't really go to Mavericks anymore. It's just I got 2 young kids, and I don't want to tempt myself into a bad decision. So it's nice being able to just like surf fun size waves, and fun size waves are pretty good size still,
Yeah. Well, how about we're like the whole world's been watching Pete Mel, just like wave after another. I mean, dude's 51 years old. Like, he's a guy that you came up with, and he is still like, he's absolutely like blowing it up out there. Yeah.
It's really cool to see. It's special too, because it's like him and his son go up there together, and their partners on the ski, and it's just cool, Yeah, it's fun to see. It makes me a little bit like, but I'm happy with the decision I made, and I really have to be all in on the things that I do in my life. And raising kids is the first and foremost on my list.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. So what's the vibe like, you know, in Santa Cruz when it gets this good? Is it like the whole town just feel like electric when it's been this good for this long?
Oh, it's actually chaos, and it's like ever since this pandemic's happened, it's like everybody's surfing.
Every
It's
flow, right?
crowded. It's like you got it. Like you're just like, God damn, there's so many damn surfers. Like it kind of it's frustrating a little bit, but it's also like you can't do anything about it, and everyone's enjoying themselves. So it's like you just gotta like have a frame of mind, just like everybody's out here just to get a couple waves and just like you know,
Right.
you can still get plenty of waves. You know,
Right.
everyone's tired and getting beat up from paddling so much this last month for sure. Like
It's
when
noodle.
it's small when it's small at the lane like today and yesterday or whatever, there's hardly anyone around. You know, everyone's pretty beat up and tired, and just I don't know how it is for you guys out there, but like every surf shop is completely killing it now. It's like
Yeah.
everything's out of stock. I can't even order wetsuits for my team riders at O'Neill. They're just all out of stock, and it's really good for the surfing industry. I mean, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. We saw that. Like you can't, specifically beginner boards, like soft tops, like nobody could buy a soft top because there were so many people just taking up surfing for the first time. And I know, you know, all the shapers, both East Coast and West Coast have just been like, they can't
yeah.
keep working on the shelf. So it's good for
That
them.
makes me super happy to
Yeah.
know that because they were struggling. They're at a point where it was hard to get people to buy boards and stuff.
Right.
You know,
Well, talk about growing up in Santa Cruz, because you know, our impression from New Jersey was like, you know, we watched all these videos in the 90s and it was like surf, you could drive to Tahoe real quickly. There was all this amazing sea life, Steamer Lane, Cowles, you know. I was a big fan of Good Riddance, who you know came out of I don't know if you did you grow up with those guys like
yeah,
Russ Lincoln?
yeah.
So it was like it was just music and surf and places to skate and just seemed like such a mecca. Why don't you just like talk about that when you were a kid? Because it was a very different place then. I know it's become really gentrified now.
Yeah. No, it's I don't think we really understood how special we had it, you know. And looking back now, you're going, that was insane. We like had such a good upbringing, you know, from just skateboarding to surfing all day to just like the nightlife was insane. Like we were just it was just a really good time. The progression of things was just skyrocketing in Santa Cruz. Our aerial surfing was just we were pushing the world with that before anyone would like you know. Well, you know there was Christian Fletcher and Archie and those guys. We kind of looked up to them a lot in San Clemente, and San Clemente always had guys that we were always kind of like battling with just for fun, you know,
Right.
in the aerial surfing. But it was just a mecca of just we were just all together all the time. Me and my friends, we were just always feeding off each other. Whatever we were doing, skateboarding, partying, you know, surfing, and then you know, when Mavericks came about, we were just all in our prime. We were all in our prime in surfing, just like what? Look at this waves in our backyard.
Mhm.
So it was just like this, like feasting. It was just feasting of waves and not even caring and just going and not being scared of anything. And yeah, it was a crazy time, you know, and it was a fun time, but I think a lot came out of it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I feel like everything that we also heard was like, you also heard about the partying, you know, and
Yeah.
I think in the 90s, the surf media definitely glorified that. Maybe more than they should have, you know, the surf industry definitely did. So it was like, I think we both live in, you know, these beautiful places. So the people here on the East Coast, Long Beach Island is this, you know, gorgeous place with waves. And we have these options of things to do outside, surf, fish, hike, skating. You guys had the music venues, and it's like, sometimes I wonder how, you know, how you can get addicted when there is so much to do. You know, I think of a kid who might live in, you know, Sacramento or Newark, New Jersey in the winter who doesn't have, I mean, what are their options? You know what I'm saying? I mean, with all those options, it's kind of, you know, how do you fall into that when you have so many other things to do?
Well, it was just it was our sponsors paid us to be those crazy guys from Santa Cruz that charged anything and partied all night, and from going to trade shows in Vegas to down in Long Beach, it was definitely like they didn't care. The surfing industry didn't care, and it's a lot different now. But I mean, I feel like mostly like we were just like, there's no, you don't have a wife or if anything that like holds you back from doing anything. If one of your friends is saying, "Hey, let's go snowboard," or it's like, "Let's go." Like it was just like, and we were like that with everything. If it was a party or if it was a concert or whatever, we could just do whatever. And looking back on that now, it's like it was having that freedom was fun. I'm happy with where I'm at in life with my kids and all that, but like that was I noticed that the most is like time is like you really got to look for those windows now. As far as back then, it was like you could do whatever you wanted all the time.
And winter and a lot of the winter in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, we had to go to Hawaii to get photos every year because Santa Cruz was cold and foggy and we didn't have these things, until Mavericks came about, and then we could go to Mavericks and not go to Hawaii as much because we could get tons of photos and big waves.
Right.
But yeah, we had to go there every year and get a house, and we all just went at the same time and shot photos, and that's how we kind of got made our sponsors happy,
Right.
And yeah.
So was there a connection between this like adrenaline high, constantly needing more of a rush, and does that like affect the need for a chemical high? Like riding, for you guys at that time, a 10 to 12 foot swell probably didn't provide the adrenaline rush that you were getting at Mavericks, right?
Well, yeah, it was a lot different, but I don't think we looked for drugs to fill that space of that adrenaline. I feel like the drugs were just part of the party, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just it couldn't take the place of nothing. Could take the place of Mavericks. You could surf Mavericks for 3 or 4 hours and get a wave, like be so tired, and just like, oh, I got to get one in. I'm so burnt. And then you catch a wave and you're just like, wait, I got to go back out. Like,
right.
I'm pumped. Like, and then you get home that night or whatever, and you're just like floored, tired, and just because you're so hyper focused out there on being in the right spot, making sure you don't, do things. And it just, you're using all your senses, physically, mentally, everything.
Yeah. Like, I mean, cold water just takes a lot out of you too. I mean,
yeah, you got this wetsuit that's thick and stiff and you're paddling that for 5 hours, whatever, it's like, yeah, it's definitely its own beast.
Right. I mean, at that time, Mavericks was kind of becoming the focus of the big wave world. It was shifting, like Hawaii didn't, it wasn't all about Hawaii, and suddenly Mavericks was this real player around the world. Before that was kind of before some other spots were ridden, some outer reefs. And at that time you were the man, you were the king. How did things start to unravel, before you lost your sponsors? How did it go from being something that you could handle to a point where it wasn't, where you knew that you couldn't come back from that without some help?
Yeah. It's just basically, the party scene, doing coke and drinking and that kind of stuff, you could handle, like waking up the next day. I didn't like do coke and stayed up all night and do coke all the next day and then all the next night. I couldn't do that. It was more just like party and do some coke and meet some chicks and then stay up till whatever, 5 a.m. and then you pass out or whatever. So with the coke, it was never, I could always handle going surfing and dealing with that, like the alcohol and coke. I was taxed, don't kid yourself, but it's really when I started smoking meth and I needed it. I wanted it every day, And I just, once I started smoking meth, it was just like, I knew that it had me from the first time I started smoking it. I was like, oh shit, this shit's good. You know, I like it too much. Like it is, I could tell that I had a problem with it, you know?
Right.
And meth wasn't something that I was like, take a hit of meth and go surf and I got tons of energy. It wasn't like that for me. I was smoking meth and like I would lock my gate and fuck, I don't want to see anybody other than the people that are doing meth with me, you know?
Mhm.
Basically just hiding out and doing weird shit, you know, looking for driftwood at 4 a.m. with a headlamp on the beach. And it's just crazy stuff that you just changes you completely into someone else, you know?
Right.
And so I kind of knew from day one when I started doing that, like, hey, this shit's got me, and I need some help. And it took me a while to actually like get it, you know, a couple years, you know, a year and a half or a couple years before I just said I have to go get help. And luckily, family and everyone kind of pushed me in the right direction.
Mhm.
And ultimately, it was my choice, and I drove myself there. So luckily, I just knew though deep down that I had a problem, you know.
Right.
And I feel like everybody that has a problem with something kind of has that same feeling.
Right. But I mean, at the time, and again, I think maybe because it was so glorified, the whole, the whole environment that you were in was going bigger, whether it was bigger waves, bigger airs, and partying harder, right? And they wanted, like you said, you wanted to do that. So there's like kind of this like masculine competitiveness, right? Which you have to achieve what you did, and wanting to be just a little bit better than your bud or whatever, and pushing each other like that, but also then to admit that you need the help, right? That's like, it's almost like counterproductive because you're out there every day proving who you are and everything that you do, and then admitting to yourself and to other people that this is something I can't do on my own. That's got to be really hard. Was that tough from like a pride point of view?
No, I feel like I've been pretty honest with everything my whole life. You know, I feel like honesty is the best policy. And I feel like I'm not, that's why when I first got help and when I got clean, that article came out, I think it was Clean or something like that, with Surfer Magazine or something. And I just wanted to expose it, that people need help sometimes, and it's okay to ask for help and get help, you know?
Right.
And I could have swept it under the rug and not said anything to anybody and kept it a secret. And that's what all the, surf companies want to do. They don't want to, bring anything out that would harm them, but it's actually harming other people.
Sure. That's been well documented to this point.
Yeah. So anyways, it's just like, I knew that I could help a lot of people by just being honest and like exposing myself to whatever, and I was confident that I was done with it. It's like, once you get to a point where someone asked me at a meeting, like, hey, are you done with that shit? And I was like, yeah, I am done with that, So I was at a point where I just wanted to heal and like be open with it and let people feel comfortable. If they have a problem, they could reach out to me and talk to me.
Right.
So, I mean, I felt like I didn't really have anything to prove and to my peers and stuff like that, and it's really been successful because a lot of them some of them got clean themselves and are doing really well too.
Good.
I'm going to plug my computer in just a second.
Yeah. Don't lose that battery.
Yeah, you guys, in the meantime, we're gonna, shortly, open it up. We have a few more minutes. If you want to start asking questions in the chat so that I can take note of what they are, we can explore, those answers.
Okay. Sorry.
No worries. So, what was up the program like? You checked yourself into the Beacon House?
Yeah.
Were you able to surf from there? And what was that program like?
Yeah. So I was able to surf a couple times. I had a friend come get me and we went surfing. you could go on the weekends, you know, and then I actually was working there for 6 years, and it's actually just went out of business this last month
Oh, wow.
after 61 years, which sucks. But they don't let anyone go surfing or stuff like that unless they're going with us. So
Right.
it was different, you know. We did have some freedom on the weekends and stuff, but that's why I didn't really want to go to Beacon House in the first place. I was like, I don't want to go to a place where I can't surf.
Right.
But then I was just losing my options and didn't have other options. And I knew that I needed help. So I
Mhm.
just had to make the commitment and go.
Well, I'm going to come back to that later when we start to talk about your house, because it seems like that's something that you kind of learned that really helps people, and you incorporate that into your program.
Yeah.
When we came back, where did you work at first? Like in the film, you said you had sold your house, you lost your sponsors. You were still a relevant name in the surf world, though. What were you doing in those couple of years?
Yeah, basically, when I got back to Santa Cruz, I sold my house and I moved up to Bonnie Doon with my girlfriend, and just to get away from the scene for a little bit, for a year. And I just focused on myself, and I started working in different recovery places. I worked at a place called Providence Recovery, bringing people surfing and doing stuff like that. And I basically had just zero money, zero, like I had no college education. So I just basically just was a yes man. You know, anybody that wanted anything, like needed help doing construction, I was a janitor. I did anything I could just to like start
Yeah, sure.
making money again and start getting my life back in order. And
Right.
it was humbling. It's very humbling after getting paid 12 grand a month to getting, you know,
Right.
making only a couple $100 here and there.
Right.
So it was really like, it's really hard to do. You have to remain positive
Mhm.
about in situations like that. And that's probably the biggest part of recovery, is like people see all these problems stacking on themselves that they've created for themselves, and it's overwhelming if you're looking at all these different problems coming all at once. But you just have to kind of tackle them one by one and deal with them one at a time, and that's all you have to do. And if you only have time to do that day or that week, then you got to just take care of one thing at a time. And so that was kind of my mindset going into this recovery thing, is like I have a lot of problems with, you know, taxes and all this weird stuff that I have to deal with. But if I try to just think about it all at once, I'm just going to go crazy, you know? So, and that's where it's nice to have those positive people in your life that are kind of in the same boat as you, not drinking or sober, or just feeling like they want to enjoy life, you know, that you can talk to, because you know, when you're down and out and you're starting from scratch, you need those people to help you.
Right. So you you had known your wife right when you went into rehab. I'm assuming that you got married afterwards. Now you have like beautiful family, 2 daughters. How much inspiration you get from those little girls?
Yeah, no, it's so fun being a dad, you know. It's tough too. It's really, they're feisty little ones.
Right.
But it's fun. It's just like starting over again, you know, and teaching them surfing and teaching them everything that I know. It's fun. I enjoy my life and getting home and being with my kids and not having to worry about how I'm going to feel the next day and stuff like that, you know. And they don't know me as that crazy surfer Flea, you know. They know me as daddy, and someone that's there for them and sober and not going anywhere, you know. So it feels good to be so present in their lives, you know, and
Right.
so glad I'm not so distracted with drugs or alcohol.
Mhm. And then you open FleaHab, which is a sober living house. That's what, you know, we find inspiring, and that's fascinating to me. So tell us about that. Tell us how the program works.
Yeah, so we started FleaHab with my mother, my beautiful mother. She helps me a lot. She's right there.
Hi.
She's the backbone of FleaHab. But we started it just because when I first got out of rehab, really when I was going into rehab, there was no places to help people through surfing and exercise get better. So when I got out, I was like, I want to open something that I could help people and like bring these things, these positive things back into their lives. So we opened up, we have a house, a friend's house. He rents to us, a 6-bedroom house. And we only help, it's a sober living environment. You know, we only help 6 people at a time. And so we have 6 people living there with a house manager and drug testing, curfew. They got to go to meetings. They have to exercise. They have to surf, you know, if they can on a daily basis, or do whatever their exercise was or they like to do. They need to incorporate that into their recovery.
Right.
And I get to go surfing with them and do cool stuff. It's really cool. Actually, we're going to start our first FleaHab surf meetup tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. at Scotts Creek.
Nice.
So anybody in the program that surfs or wants to go meet up and surf, we'll go have some donuts and go surf and cruise, you know? But just do fun stuff like that. And that's the point of FleaHab. And I feel like not throwing 15 people into a house to live together that don't know each other really helps a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it
becomes a reality show.
You're not going to make tons of money with just helping 6 people at a time. But I think the success rate is going to be better.
Right.
Just because everybody kind of gets more into like a family vibe and gets along with each other and kind of hangs out and goes to meetings and surfs and does cool stuff. We're really fortunate. We have Foodsmith. He's a organic food company that delivers meals to the house for free on a weekly basis, so they can have those paleo meals. And it's just been a really fun thing, you know, to see people go in there and just like be completely broken and then leave on such a happy note, you know, and seeing family and working again and being able to provide that for them. It's really cool to see, you know.
Is that primarily people from Santa Cruz, or are people traveling to come stay there?
People come from all over the place. People came from Florida, from New York. People come from all over the place just because of the concept, you know, and how it, you know, the structure of the house. But a lot of people were coming from the Beacon House, you know, because they go to the program and then they would just transfer out because I was working there. I could talk to them about it, stuff like that. But people come off the street and they have to, you know, be clean and sober and ready to do this, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they're all pretty much surfers then.
Yeah, a lot of them are, you know, a lot of people come to the house that surf. It's fun.
And what's your day-to-day role? You said there is a house manager, but
yeah,
you know, you're working with them as well.
Yeah, I do a lot of the fundraising for FleaHab, and I'm pretty much in contact with the house manager and a couple guys at the house. We surf when we can, and I have to kind of keep the house, you know, if there's problems at the house or whatever, I go over there and deal with it.
Right.
And yeah, it's before COVID and all these things, and we would go golfing, you know, and stuff like that. So it's kind of scaled back a little bit since this whole COVID thing. But there's so many different cool little ideas you can do with fundraising and just bringing people together, you know. So it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, they must feel like part of a group too. That's got to be a huge part of it.
Yeah, it's good, and we could all heckle each other, and like, you know, they're all it's a fun group of guys. Like they have a good time at the house, you know.
Good.
So it's and I'm still in contact with many people that came out of the house that are completely killing it in life, you know, and it feels good to actually make friends and know that they're doing good, you know.
Right. So now you've you've gone through addiction, you've gone through your own recovery, you're helping other people on their path. You must have learned so much at this point, right? I mean, you just feel like just a wealth of knowledge on this and the road to recovery.
Yeah, no, I know that, I know what works,
Right.
just from personal experience. And so if people want help getting better, and I can show them the way that I got better. Um, like Elizabeth was saying earlier, there's tons of different ways to get better,
Mhm.
and I commend anyone that has a different path. Um, as long as it works for them, it's fine.
It's awesome. Well, is there anything you want to add? Or Elizabeth, do you want to hop in here and start taking some of these questions? Because I'm seeing some great questions pinging in here.
I do. I'd love to jump in. I actually wanted to, before we do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about, the reason I met Flea, or Darryl, I like to call you Darryl. I feel like that's, your recovery name. So is because one of the things, a lot of what Darryl is doing at FleaHab, although it's not a sober house, Sea Change is not. We're a recovery community center without walls right now. We're online, and our sort of outdoor, weather permitting activities that we're going to be having are, when I was researching what was out there, I found Darryl's FleaHab, and I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm trying to create here. There's some differences, like I just said. But one of the things that I just got super excited about was, and I kind of renamed it for myself, was 100 Waves for Recovery. And I'm wondering, Darryl, if you could, that's going to be our primary major fundraiser that we're going to be doing every summer. And I've basically appropriated that from Darryl, who got it from someone else, I believe, in Australia. But the idea of what we're going to be doing here is anybody can participate. It'll probably be like a month long. And Darryl, you can share what's the same and what's different with what you're doing. But I love the idea also of doing, like, this is the East Coast, West Coast, I think on coastal lifestyles, like a lot of us overlap, East Coast, West Coast, when you live at the beach. But the 100 Ways for Recovery fundraiser, like I said, will be a month long, and anybody can participate, and they go find a sponsor, anyone that will sponsor them. They assign a certain amount of money per wave, and then they aim to serve up to 100 waves or so that month. And then their sponsor, contributes the money per wave to the organization. And I'm super excited about that because it really will include everybody. And we also don't have to do it as a big group. We don't have to worry about the pandemic. You can surf on your own time. We can get together in groups if we want to, and surf safely, whatever. But Darryl, so I, really met Darryl through being excited about that idea and wanting to replicate that here. And just being, a sober friend, I reached out, and, we've been talking ever since. So Darryl, do you want to say anything about your 100 Waves? Because I think it's just brilliant.
Yeah, so I got it from Sean Thompson. He does it. I think they do it a little differently. And that's what's cool about it, is every organization can kind of do it differently. The way we did it was we went out and got sponsors. First of all, it was really cool because it was really a good time to do something like that with the pandemic and no gatherings and stuff like that. So it was all online. And we just, we got surfers together that wanted to surf for our organization, and they could go out and get sponsors from maybe where they work or different restaurants or whatever it is, friends, and just deciding on how much they want to get paid for each wave is from the sponsor. I think there was a way to do it better, as far as having it all organized with surfers on your website for your 100 Wave Challenge, and people could just go there and pick a surfer and look at the stats and see who they are and what they're about, and I want to sponsor that guy. So it's kind of like that the public can kind of interact with. It's like a game almost, you know, like, oh, I'm going to play with this one and sponsor this, you know? So it went really well. And it was probably one of our best fundraisers, and it was fun because everybody got to surf and catch waves. And I caught 150 waves in like 2.5 hours, and it was nuts, just catching waves for recovery. It was fun, you know? But I feel like everybody's really into it, and people want to help, you know, and it's a cool way for them to help, you know, and they don't have to, if they don't have to spend tons of money, you know, either. If you get enough people to want to do it, then it's a good cause, you know, to help people struggling with drugs and alcohol.
How'd you keep track of your 100 waves?
I was counting, but a couple of times I was like, wait, is that 79 or is that 80?
You remember the shark watch in like the late 80s that had the wave counter on it? I don't think it went.
I might have caught like 155 or something, because like a couple of times I lost count. I was like, was that 106? Yeah, it was fun. But I had a friend on the cliff too. My sponsor was on the cliff watching me. So you could call your sponsors and be like, hey, I'm going to do it this day. And that was what we did. Was we picked one session to do it in. So you have the whole month of November. You pick your day that works for your schedule and your low tide or your high tide or wherever it is. And then you just go on your own time and do it, you know. And you could tell your sponsors like, hey, I'm going to go do it today at 2 if you can come check me out, you know. And then they feel like, oh, they could see it happening, you know. And it's really cool.
That's awesome.
That's so much fun. Yeah, I think also, just a side note, you know, one of the things that I'm all about is, you know, hashtag crush the stigma. And I also love that you're very out and open and, you know, not hiding in a basement somewhere, you know, and keeping yourself anonymous. And I, you know, to each his own. I get that. I support anybody that wants to remain anonymous. But I think that when one doesn't, you know, we really have an opportunity to save a lot of lives. So I think, you know, that's another thing that I really identify with in you, you know, that I see in myself. I also, you know, I feel like I had no reservations, you know, once you're in recovery, and maybe this is just me, but like once you're in recovery, it's like you're in this awesome secret club, right? And like, or not secret, I don't even want to say secret because I just, you know, but like, it's almost like you're in a brotherhood, sisterhood thing where I felt like I feel comfortable talking to other people in recovery. I had, you know, no reservation, just reaching out to you and being like, hey, you know, I'm like your sober sister, and like, let's see how we can talk and collaborate and do cool things together. And and that was met with no reservation. So I think that's really cool. And I think that's
I hear that so much too. Like, well, I'll be hanging out, surfing or cruising. Someone will paddle up and be like, hey, Flea, what's up, man? I like what you're doing. I got 10 months tomorrow, you know, and it's just cool, you know, it's a cool thing. You're right. It's kind of like people are part of a club, it's kind of a secret club, you know?
Yeah.
Way, right? But then people talk about it to each other and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
They feel comfortable reaching out to people that they know are in the same boat.
It's like we went through a war together, you know, like you kind of identify with that war that, you know, it wasn't, maybe you weren't in the same battle, but you were kind of in the same war. And it's sort of like, yeah, I'm a veteran. You're a veteran. Okay, we're cool. You know, it's like those World War II veterans that like are friends no matter what. And you see them like hanging out together at the Walmart or whatever. It's just like, there's a bond. There's a bond when you're in recovery because it is really hard. It's not easy, especially in the beginning. It's not easy. It's not.
There's a bar bond too.
Yeah. Bar.
They have that at the bar too. Cheers, mate.
They did. Norm. All right, so let's jump in here. So Matt Starr. Hey, Matt. Matt's a neighbor. He wrote here, guessing your wife and kids were a huge part of recovery. How did your relationship with your wife hold up during the bad times? Or, you know what, let's also phrase that like, you know, life on life's terms in recovery can be challenging in and of itself. It doesn't even have to be back then. How do you do it? How did you do it then? Or how do you do it now? Like what makes it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, my wife we met like a year. I was still partying for a year she was partying, doing other, you know, drugs and drinking. And then when I got clean, she knew that I needed help, you know, and so she was like my biggest support group ever through this. And it's not easy going from like having beers with someone and partying and having fun and going doing crazy stuff to like all of a sudden not doing anything, like, you know, crazy stuff wise, you know. So for her, she was just a normie. She still likes to have a glass of wine and a beer here and there, and I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me. Just like Jon said, it doesn't bother him, and he was a bartender. It was just like, you know, she's just a strong person to actually stand by my side and be there with me. And we both knew that we wanted to have children and create a life together. And she saw that I was a good person, even through all that crazy drug behavior and drinking, that, you know, she knew that I was a good person and wanted to stick with me, and she did.
Very nice. Yeah, kudos to the significant others that hang in there, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, my husband's here. That's you, Tom. Okay, Brian. Brian asks, would it have been easier to recover if you didn't have, would it have been harder for you to recover if you didn't have the waves? What would you say to someone that doesn't have a passion outside of their substance use? That's a great question.
I would have to say, like, find one, you know, be willing to try something new, you know. Basically, I was teaching lessons for the Beacon House for the last 5 years to people that never surfed, were scared of the ocean, didn't know how to swim. And all of a sudden they surfed and they're like, whoa, this is so much fun. I got to get aboard, you know, and they were kind of forced to do it at the Beacon House. Like, you have to go surfing today because that's what everyone's doing, you know? And so they were kind of forced into it in a way, and it turned them into surfers, you know? And I feel like being able to, like, if you're new in recovery, being able to just say, you know, someone asks you to go do something, some activity that you've never done or whatever, or just say, yeah, sure, I'll try it out, you know, and find something that you like doing. And there's so many things, you know, you don't have to like have a passion. It would have been definitely hard for me with no waves, because I had that passion that I needed in my life for sure. But I'm also attracted to hiking and camping and golfing, and there's so many different fishing. There's so many different things that I enjoy. So there's a lot out there for people if they're willing to just accept trying something new and going for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also share with people oftentimes, like, you know, maybe 1 year you get really passionate about running, right? And like, maybe it's okay to change it too. Like, it can morph into other things. You can, like, you know, I just know from my experience over all the years, you know, when I first got my entered recovery, like, one of the things I loved to do was go to shows and dance, like, and go to concerts and like get in the mosh pit and just being seen in Manhattan. And, you know, like, I'm not going to do that today. Like, that's not what is, you know, now I'd rather take a hike, you know, and like take a walk in nature or walk on the beach with my dog. And like, but it's that constant trial and error and letting yourself evolve with it as well, you know.
I think
Hiking's cool, but I can't wait to stage dive.
What?
Hiking's cool, but I can't wait to stage dive.
Hiking's.
Go ahead.
I would have to say that sober dancing is probably the hardest thing that I've had to deal with in my recovery.
Nice. Are you talking like wedding dances or?
I'm just talking about like kind of dancing like with yourself, you know, it's tough, man.
Oh, that's great.
I could dance with my significant other and, you know, spins and all that kind of stuff. That's good. But like when you're by yourself kind of grooving, it's definitely hard.
Oh, that's hilarious. I remember my second year of recovery, they made me in Soho in Manhattan, they made me the chairperson of the annual dance in the 12-step group. And like 500 people would come to this dance. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. And it was just like all about the dance. But yeah, people really helped me get through that responsibility. Let's see. Okay, so I saw Jim Harrington wrote, and I think I get what he was saying. 6 directly, many more indirectly. So you only get 6 guys in the house. I think that's a comment, right, Jim? You can.
Yeah, that's correct. You know, just don't sell yourself short. You know, that you only have 6 people there. You know, it fans out from there and multiplies.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, there's a ripple effect. I think that's another plus for being sort of, you know, out about your recovery. Yeah. So Christine, one of my best friends, she's here. She writes, "Is this for men only?" That was my question. I asked Darryl a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it is right now. We would love to be able to open a women's house. So whenever that kind of presents itself, we'll be able to do that. Same structure, you know. So I mean, unfortunately, it's kind of hard to find housing right now around here with all the fires and everyone displaced from all the fires and everything else. So it's been difficult to try to find a rental that someone wants to rent to us to open a women's SLE. But we're definitely we would love to.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so Jen Begonia writes, "Do you ever have urges to use now? And if so, what do you do when you feel them?" We'll start with that.
No, I don't. I really don't have urges, you know, to use. It's weird because it's like it's really kind of like when you quit something like drugs and alcohol or just like drugs, it's like you're quitting for like everything, you know. Like if my wife has a bottle of wine and she's all, "Oh, this is good. You try a sip, just taste it." I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like that's against my recovery. And it's just I never really thought about that when I was quitting all this stuff. I was like, whoa, it's like it's more to recovery than just quitting drugs and alcohol. It's like learning to be a better person, being kinder to people, driving. Like there's so many different aspects of recovery. It's not just quitting the substance or the alcohol. For me, I found there was so many different other things that came along with it, you know. But I don't really have the urge, and if I have the urge, I'll just like eat like 4 cookies and some milk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's my big deal now. It's just like it's nice to have dessert.
What kind of cookies?
I like the Cahoots. I like the Cahoots with the white chocolate and macadamia nuts, or chocolate chip with walnuts are pretty good. Anything chocolate. Brownies.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I think it is important, you know. I think putting the substances down and physically recovering from that is the start. And then, you know, after a little time, it's really about that kind of emotional sobriety or emotional recovery, and like, who do I want to be? How do I want to act? How do I want to treat other people? And, you know, what kind of legacy do I want to leave for like my children, right? And
yeah. I mean, like when I was talking to Jon earlier, it's like when you're in this like crazy drinking, partying, surfing, just doing whatever you want on a daily basis, you're not seeing the effects that you're having on other people, and how you're being mean to other people, or you're yelling at this guy, or, you know, you're not even caring. It's like you're in this circle with your group of friends and you're not caring about anyone because you're with this cool group of friends, you know? So once you come out of that and you see the world in a different light, you're like, oh, dude, I need to be a nicer person. Or, you know, it's like, you see your actions and you're present for the things that you do. So it's like you think about it a lot more when you're in recovery. I feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. I mean, speaking to that a little bit, like, you know, just to touch a little bit more on all paths to recovery. I know, you know, a lot for so long, like when I first came around, you know, the only option was, and rehab was not one of them, but the only option really available to me were 12-step programs. I mean, that was it. And that's, you know, and detoxing in my, you know, friend's apartment. It's now there's just so many more options. And as a certified recovery specialist in New Jersey, you know, we really also incorporate all those people that we wreaked havoc on into the recovery process as well, meaning family, friends, loved ones who we stressed out for so long, right? I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about just this idea of all paths, like, and not it's not just AA and NA anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's like what you're doing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, people have different, kind of different things to do in their life, and different jobs and different windows, and you know, different family, you know. I have a Mexican friend that was just gnarly alcoholic, and he grew up kind of, I think, with Catholic, going to church and stuff when he was younger, and so he kind of fell back into that, and it saved his life, you know. And it wasn't the NA path, or it wasn't going surfing and going to meetings or whatever with me. Like, it was, for him, it was going to church and choosing that, you know. And I feel like just for myself in my community, from the things that I've been doing with my life, trying to be positive, other people have it's helped other people realize that, like, hey, I can do this too, you know. And I'm fine with not, I don't want to ever like pressure anyone into doing it the way I did it, but support them in the way that they want to do it. And you know, talk about how it's helping them in that way, you know, is key. We all kind of share the same thing as in this town, and probably where you guys live too, is we have these common exercise that we all surf around here. And so we all meet in the ocean and talk a story in the ocean. So it's really cool to see those faces paddle back into the ocean that you haven't seen in a while, you know, and hear how they changed their life, and not knowing exactly where they were, what they were doing, but hearing these positive ways they've recovered through church or other ways. It's been really fun.
Yeah, that's great. So that leads me, Matt had another question, but before we get to that, I see something I think, so what's your take on meditation? And this is a big one for me. What's your take on meditation? Do you incorporate that at FleaHab?
It's very hard to, you know, in the beginning, I actually had a yoga instructor coming to the house in the mornings and teaching yoga. And then for a while there was just like, I would show up and it would just be like one of the guys coming out of his bedroom. So it kind of got canceled a little bit. Meditation for me is like, I have a really hard time like sitting down and meditating. I went to acupuncture yesterday, and just having those needles in my arm for like 45 minutes to an hour and like trying to like sleep, it's like you're still thinking of all the things. And I have a hard time turning the brain off. So meditation's hard for me, but the closest thing to my meditation is just paddling out in the ocean and being in nature where it's quiet and being like with the seals and the birds, and like that's kind of my meditation. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, it's very hard for me to get into meditation, like
Formal, right,
yeah,
right,
formal meditation.
right. And there are so many, I mean, that's what I actually try to share with people. Like there's so many ways to embrace that, being in the moment. I mean, that's basically what meditation is like having that awareness in the moment of like just being in that moment. And that can happen anywhere, you know, that can happen in the ocean, that can happen, you know, taking a walk on the beach with your dog, that can happen standing, you know, waiting at the red light. You can even practice, you know.
Well, surfing especially, if you have to be completely focused on what you're doing surfing. You have to be watching the waves and seeing what's going on. You're constantly following the ocean. So I mean, it definitely qualifies, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's all. Yeah, totally. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful way to meditate. Now that you're well, this is what Matt was asking before. Now that you're well into recovery, can you tolerate being in situations where people are using substances? Or do you find yourself in those situations at all?
In the beginning, I was like, I don't want to just like abandon my friends because I'm in recovery, you know? And so I was still hanging out with the same people, and I found myself like sitting in the garage one day and like they're all passing a meth pipe around these people, and like I had to like pass it past me, and then I was just like, this is like not where I want to be. Like this is stupid, you know? And so I didn't have the urge at all. Like I was my mind has been set on this new path since day one, but it was just like it was gross to me. And it kind of made me feel like, oh, this is gross, you know, like I don't want to be a part of this, you know? So I avoid those friends that are still using sometimes, you know, and usually it's with the alcohol and stuff like that. I try to steer clear of those drunk situations that people are in, you know. I'm fine with talking to people when they're having a couple of beers after they surf at the lane and we're just talking story and stuff like that. It doesn't make me want to drink. But I go home at night, you know. I don't go to that next stage, and it feels good to just like kick out and do my own thing.
Nice. Yeah. I think too, like I'm a big believer in like your vibe attracts your tribe. So, you know, it's sort of just not like, at least for me, it's really doesn't even come up, you know?
Yeah. In the beginning, it was tough.
In the beginning, it will. Yeah.
In the beginning, it was tough. I went to Hawaii, and like all my friends were going to see Too Short in Honolulu. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go too. And they're all drinking and doing drugs. And I think I drank like 6 Red Bull in one night. And it was just like, it was just tiring for me to be around it, you know, the whole party scene. So it's just so much nicer for me just to like go home and have a good dinner and maybe watch a basketball game and just, you know, get some rest and wake up early and go surf. You know, it just feels good to feel the same way every single day, not waking up tired or got a headache or, you know,
like consistent, healthy feeling. Yeah. That's, I feel the way. All right. So we have time for one last one from my brother, Benjamin Simmons. Hello, Ben. You can unmute yourself. Would you like to ask your question? Ben's joining us from California.
Yeah, just curious if Jeff Clark really did surf Mavericks solo, and if you ever surfed Mavericks solo.
I was probably the first one out there a couple times, you know, because once you paddle out and you're with all your friends and your friends get caught by a rogue set and you make it,
yeah,
you know, because you have to paddle past the breakwater.
Yeah.
So I've probably been out there by myself, you know, a couple times first. And then, Jeff, that's a big story. Jeff likes to say,
Yeah.
I would say it's more of a story than, he did surf out there by himself for a number of years, but it wasn't like on every single day. Mavericks is one of those places that sometimes it barely breaks, but he's Jeff Clark's a madman, and he's just like this, he's just like a water, like his body, his hands are just here, just he's like a I don't know, like a caveman or something, like a surf caveman. But he's like the ultimate surf. Like he's so into water sports. He's into his foil boarding right now. And it's just really cool to see that much. He has so much love for like surfing and in ocean sports. It's just cool to see someone like that at his age. It's inspiring.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Are you a surfer?
Much.
Yeah, Benjamin.
Okay, cool. So I think we're about to wind down. I guess if I was going to ask you one last question, and Jon, if you have any one last question you want to ask, feel free. My it's kind of a big one, but like, if there was, what's the best thing about your recovery today?
Probably just the best thing is just my life that I have with my family, and being here with my family, and just caring about my health, and being able to think about getting older and not have ailments, and being healthy and stuff like that, and being able to exercise a lot, and I feel like I'm in pretty good shape for 49 years old. So that's probably the biggest part of my recovery, is just so thankful to have family and friends and being healthy. Yeah. And it's so nice to help other people as well.
I could ditto that myself. Yeah. I feel, I thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jon?
I have a feeling that Elizabeth is going to campaign for you to come out here next summer. And as great as this was, this is pretty serious. So we invite you to come out and let's have fun and have some laughs and little waves here in the summer next year if you can make it. But thank you so much for giving us this time. And Elizabeth, thank you so much for having me. This was fantastic.
Cool. Nice.
I really appreciate it. I appreciate you, Jon, for being here. I appreciate everyone. One last final push, if anybody, because we're nonprofit, and Darryl, I know you can attest to this. If you want to make a donation, please go to my website, and I'm putting it up again, and there's a donate button right in the front and center. Now, as a nonprofit executive director, I guess I have to start getting used to begging for money, right? But Darryl, thank you. You are amazing. I appreciate you so much. I'm glad to know you, and I appreciate everyone being here. So thank you so much. And we're going to be having monthly events once a month. So stay tuned for the next one. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks everybody for letting me be a part of this. It's nice to talk about recovery and my life, and hear about other people's lives and stuff. So thank you for inviting me, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
Is the water warm in the summer over there?
Yeah, we wear a 5 mil for like 5 or 6 months, and then you wear trunks for like 2 or 3 months. It's like it's bizarre, but and we have everything in between.
Okay, so how far is that from Marblehead?
Marblehead,
Massachusetts.
Oh, not far at all.
5 hours, 4 or 5 hours.
Is that a flight or is it a drive?
It's a drive. There wouldn't be an efficient way to fly.
Okay.
Yeah, come on down.
Might have to go see my mother-in-law.
Well, include us in your trip. Thank you again.
All right, you guys, have a good evening. Hopefully the waves pick up.
Hope so. All right, thanks guys.
Thanks everyone. Have a great night. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, you guys.
Later.
See you, Elizabeth.
Bye, Darryl. Thanks again.
Yep.